Yo,
Grant is all over that.
I do think Storm brought up some great points in that. But definitely
Grant's plane to
Aberrating.
like a Harrier jet or something.
so Drone, I can answer your question. It's real simple. The more we talk about this, the less we talk about.
Every way.
Did I hear orifice? I mean, you were on it, Daphne.
Storm, really?
It is Friday night, Storm.
It is Friday night.
Or
No, but I mean,
the night show.
yeah, you listen, you can joke about whatever you want to joke about, but the truth of the matter is, why you joke about it, that's why they laugh at us, because nobody's taking this shit seriously.
Guys, Dallas
cycle in a couple days, like obviously, like I think most of us know, like you see that they're extremely soft on like China's offensive, things that they put out there, right? I mean, they're obviously they continue to flirt out like that. They want to ready the military for Taiwan, and like I don't know if there'd be pushback in this room, but like I don't think Biden is the right person that would have a strong resistance to that. I mean, given it's the similar thing, like when Obama was in power, you got like the little hot mic of, hey, after re-election I'll have, I can talk to Vladimir, we'll have more flexibility. There's a lot of these like backroom deals. Well, I don't know, right? I mean, I think we ultimately, sadly, we end up finding out what it's a distraction from a little bit after the fact, and then we kind of are left cleaning up the mess after. But I think it's concerning that, I mean, I can't, again, like no one can really come up with a logical reason why you would allow that to enter in the U.S. It does nothing but make us look weak and allows them to look like they can kind of just get away with what they want to do.
Hey, Dallas,
priming people for that.
I'd like to take a swing at this. Grant sort of touched on it a minute ago. We got a lot of troops right now in Poland, and there's some things going on in Ukraine. Notice Ukraine has sort of left spaces in the news cycle. So that's the swing I'd take, is there's something going on over there.
I guess you just haven't really been looking. There's still plenty of Twitter spaces that have been talking about the military aspect of the war. Like that, it hasn't changed. It's just the last 30 hours or so, everyone's been hyper fixated on our new supreme overlord, the Chinese weather spy balloon.
Well, Intel, I don't recall when I just said what I said, saying a time. I'm talking about since the damn balloon has been in the sky, right? That's what we're talking about, not 2 weeks ago or 2 days ago, right? Thank you, though.
Hey guys, real quick. Hey guys, thank you guys for coming to debate the news. Yeah, Nelson Apega is on a plane over to Singapore, so he's not here with us this evening. He'll be back in the coming day or so. He's gonna be coming live from Singapore. We got Uncle GC, guys. Make sure you guys give Uncle GC a follow. We got Daphne, Holly. We have everyone here. Make sure you guys give them a follow. We have Peter here as well. Make sure you guys are giving them a follow. This is Debate the News. Right now, we're talking about this Chinese balloon. Grant said dropping microscopic viruses on the USA. All right. So, yeah, we'll rock with that. What the hell, right?
And as we do, I also want to jump in and just say, as you see us, we're dropping some people. Please don't think that you said anything wrong. We appreciate everyone coming up and amount of spaces we need to just cycle through. So please note that.
Let's do it.
You said I'm up?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, I just wanted to talk about how the GDP for them to move. Like Grant was just saying, there's a lot of
Speak that same line as far as just dropping something microscopic. I'm curious, who believes Grant?
Exactly, Storm. They have the technology.
Well, why'd they do it with a balloon? Why don't they just do it with airplanes?
Yeah, because planes would be considered a violation of airspace. We would be intimidated by them. It could not be allowed. A balloon, no threat.
Well, I'm not talking about Chinese airplanes. I'm talking about domestic. They can
Oh.
find a way to get it into our domestic airplanes if they really wanted to.
Now, somebody said earlier that our aircraft are made in China. Is that true? I did not know that, and I don't know that I believe that. But
control, but that might be a weak point that they could expose if they wanted to.
Boeing makes everything in China, Storm.
Absolutely. Hey guys, so I've been cycling through some of the speakers here, and I wanted to get some new voices up on stage. I see Corey Cruz has her hand, her or his. I'm sorry, with Corey, I'm not quite sure. Corey, you want to tell us what you want to contribute to the conversation?
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about the satellites can do this, satellites can do that. But if you know anything about LiDAR and systems like that, LiDAR doesn't work from a very high altitude. I think it's 6,000 feet maximum, if that's even there. But what it does to just play it off, I think it's more of a ploy. What can we get away with? What can we do? Is it a Trojan horse? We don't know, but they could be getting intel. And the fact is the fact that the Pentagon and everybody is involved tells us it's not just a weather balloon, that there's something that they are worried about, and it's a fear. Now, I don't think it's a reason to panic, but it's a reason to be concerned. And that's my biggest thing. You went low tech. Not you, but they did. They went low tech. It's an air balloon. What are you going to do? Shoot it down? Really? So it's a smart play by them. But the fact remains, it could be a test. What could we do? Where could we get this? Where could we use an EMP? Where could we drop fentanyl, a bioweapon, anything? So those are the things that we got to look at. I don't think that's what this is. I don't think they would go there now. But they are building a military that is soon to rival ours. Our generals are speaking on that because our defense is cut. So as they build up and ramp up, they're catching us. To think that they're not developed, they just developed a laser. They did, China, that can shoot, I think it's a shot every half second for like a half hour. And, I can't remember how many shots a second, but that's where they're at. Now, we might have something too, but that doesn't mean we know how to stop that laser.
Defense budget has been increased, right?
Yes, but what happened in the last, let's just say 15 years, Tara? Did the rest of the world catch up with us? Because if you look at when Germany fought Russia, millions died. I'll liken it to this. When we went to Iraq, how many died on our side? Not very many. Not really many died on their side either. Why? Overwhelming force. I'm sorry. I jump in the ring with Mike Tyson, it's over in 2 punches. It's a thing where you want to be the overwhelming force so you don't have a long drawn out war. And in Russia, it's been through money to try and into the politics game to get us to stop putting money into research and development, into developing our military. And it works. It's psychological. It's brilliant. You can't beat us in war. Throw your money at the psychological. Listen to Yuri Bezmenov talk about it, former KGB. So, yeah, we're building it back up. But the problem is the rest of the world has caught up.
Hey, Corey, I want to pose a question to you. You brought up a great point, and I think if a lot of things are made in China and they control that, weren't PCR tests controlled in China? And didn't you have to stick that straight up to your, straight up your nostrils and hit your blood-brain barrier in some cases? And so I'm thinking if they really wanted to do something, they're not going to do it with nuclear weapons. They're going to do it with bioweapons before they would do it with nuclear because they know they can take that out. So just kind of curious, anybody's thoughts on that?
Agree with you completely. My only point was now they can specifically target. If they can determine exactly where our missiles are, that we're going to defend Taiwan no matter what. And China says we're taking it back no matter what. So we both said we're going to war eventually if you go in. So someone can start a war, Tara. So to sit here and say it can't happen is ridiculous. They're building up for it. And it's already been said by our own generals. If we have to go to war over there, we're in deep trouble because they've got a lot of planes. They've got a lot of ammo, and it's in their backyard. We're not fighting in our backyard. If they came to the States, different war. But we have generals that say it's not a good war. We're going to lose almost every bit of our naval forces that can be sunk. Goodbye. Then where are we? I'm sorry, but I'm just saying we got to prepare, and we need to look at this as why. Why are you doing it? What could it be? Test. Let's go low tech. Low tech wins. Bin Laden did it for how many years, avoided us with low tech. So that's all I'm saying here. I didn't say they were going to attack us. I don't think they're that stupid.
Yeah, and let's go to hands. That's a great point that you bring up as well. Miley, I saw your hands, and then we're going to go to Intel and Allcell. So, Miley, go ahead. Going twice.
Hey, thanks, Storm. Can you come back to me in just a second? I'm going to disconnect my AirPods that I dropped in my wine.
Definitely.
So
Yeah. Definitely get the wine AirPods. Too much on a Friday night. All right. We'll come back to you.
Okay.
Intel, go ahead, my friend.
Yes. So in terms, I don't remember who was just talking a minute ago saying like they're trying to find they know the general area of the nukes, but they don't know where. That's just false. Anyone can find. This has been public data for like 40 years since the 80s. The precise locations of all of our silos. You can find maps from anti-nuke environmentalists back in the late 80s with literally maps saying like this nuclear silo is located 300 feet from this road in this intersection. You can go on Google Earth and you can find every single silo. The National Park Service even has maps being like, here's all our old silos. So like and you can go and there's GIS data. It's all public. Like everyone knows where our nukes are. It's not a hidden secret. The only real hidden nukes would be our submarines because it's underwater. So it's in terms of what this balloon was likely doing, it probably was doing some SIGINT stuff. There's Huawei cell phone infrastructure all over the Midwest that's been a problem for over a decade and hasn't been taken down. And it was likely a calculated PR stunt. There was supposed to be a visit that was only able to get about 30,000 troops ashore, and within less than 2 weeks, they are still stuck on the beach. Yeah, they have 1 billion people, and on paper, they physically have more ships, but the tonnage is way smaller. They don't have the strike capabilities to hit back, and they lack the independence for their commanders to make decisions. It's a very rigid, top-down military. They've had really good satellites, but they don't because they invested all their money, time, and research in anti-missile defense instead of satellites, which is part of the reason why they probably flew this or floated this balloon over the U.S. is because they just don't have the satellite capabilities to get whatever information they're trying to. That's my main commentary for the moment.
So you're saying they could attack from the west. If they have California, they have pretty strict gun control, so they might be able to get past California. Is that what you're saying?
They don't have the amphibious capabilities to launch an invasion of Taiwan, let alone the west coast of the United States.
Yeah.
Didn't they recently shoot down one of their satellites?
That's my point. They invested all their money in anti-satellite technology and missile defense. They never invested that technology into, say, spy satellites. They invested their capabilities in shooting down satellites or making a boatload of missiles, or really used like mass amounts of cheap boats and vessels like the Chinese maritime militia. Their capabilities are still very far behind.
So Intel, just one quick follow-up before we get to all source. I'm just curious, with the development of Space Force, because I know that, when Trump started, that idea and it ended up becoming actually a branch of the government, a lot of people were laughing at that going, what the heck are we going to do? But for this very reason of space defense. And so I'm just kind of curious, if China went the other way, don't we have the upper hand when it comes to Space Force and satellites? If they tried to make a move, do we have that domination up in that area?
All right, Storm. So I took off my headphones that I dunked into my wine. I'm back.
All right. Can you answer about the Space Force, and then I'll come back to you in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I want Intel's opinion, and then we'll circle back to you, Miley.
Yeah. So in terms of capabilities, the Space Force is definitely, I'd say, superior to any equivalency to whatever other countries may have. I think part of the move to make Space Force, though, too, was a bureaucratic move, right? Every single branch has or had a space component that did the same exact thing. And it kind of just made sense. It's like, okay, the Army has a space command, the Air Force has a space command, the Navy has a space command. They're all doing the same exact thing. Might as well just put them in one building and just merge those resources. It saves money, and it reduces that bureaucratic burden. And also, again, like, we have a lot of assets that those various departments were utilizing. It's like, okay, just put it all together, put it in a bow, and it does also provide a legitimate national security defense to defend the United States. And again, the capabilities of Space Force are far superior than whatever equivalent program any other country has. Yeah, China has the ability to, or they've demonstrated an ability to shoot down a satellite. Does that mean they have mass quantity of these missiles? Probably not. And in terms of Chinese satellites, they're subpar to any satellite that Space Force has, or the NGO has, or any, like, they just don't have the capabilities in space. And then Space Force also isn't just physical space, it's also cyberspace. And that's the thing that a lot of people gloss over, is Space Force isn't just, space, but it's the internet. And those capabilities.
Of your insight on that. Miley, hope you drank the glass of wine where your headphones fell in, but let's go to you and then we'll hit All Source. So, and I saw a couple other hands up, so we'll circle around. Go ahead, Miley.
I'll be fast. It's half serious, half in this conversation. It's Friday night. We're here for Debate the News. Have to have a little bit of fun. So I don't know if anybody watched that series, that documentary about Pepsi, Where's My Jet? But right now, I wish that kid got his Harrier jet and that he could just shoot down this damn balloon.
Too. I'll drink a water for you.
Thank you,
Miley.
Storm will drink water. Good choice.
Yeah,
Good choice.
we try and stay sober when we co-host, but no, thank you, Miley.
No
All Source, you've had your hand up forever, and I saw Tanae. We'll get back to you too, I promise. And Lindsay, All Source, what you got on this?
They're like internal media, and like, because they don't have Twitter, they have Weibo and stuff like. And so and another thing that's very interesting is in China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is our equivalent of the Department of State, when this came out and they were questioned, what was interesting is that they regretted the incident, right? And if anybody who tracks China, in the Wolf Warrior, I think that's probably a term that's more familiar with people. Wolf Warrior, the Chinese don't apologize. They attack, they do whataboutism, what if you do, American imperialism, blah, 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 blah. The Chinese reaction to this has been completely different, 180 from what we're used to. And the fact that they're censoring, I think the Chinese government has shown that they did not want this incident to come out. And that even if you're looking at Chinese scholars, so if you follow on Twitter, there's a lot of Chinese scholars, and I'll find the tweets, and a lot of them that are experts on Chinese politics. A lot of them are very confused of why the Chinese government would do this, because people could say, "Oh, they get the propaganda win," but if you look at how
China's obviously doing this, however, they knew there was going to be a diplomat coming from the United States to them. This just seems like the perfect storm, so to speak, or that timing where now all of a sudden he cancels for that reason, and now we have a reason to cancel. What are your thoughts?
I liked how you said Storm, and that's your name. Good segue there. What I would say is, I think if you were right, if they wanted, if I interpreted your question correctly and your hypothesis correctly, you would assume the Chinese media and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would be doing what we're used to them doing, right? Which is the Wolf Warrior diplomacy of not backing down, not apologizing, not regretting, not saying anything like that. Openly use, the Chinese social media to just run this amok. And we're seeing this completely different reaction. I do not believe they wanted Blinken to cancel. I think if you look at Chinese scholars, and I'm going to base it on them because they're way more experts than I am on this, there's a somewhat underlying theory that this operation was either it looks like this was a standard procedure that the Chinese did right now. They're trying to pivot from zero COVID to opening China to the world. They're trying to reestablish a lot of those wolf warrior diplomats that we're used to in the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, especially their spokesperson in the past. He's been fired. He's been removed from that position. Clearly, China is trying to go back to, hey, we're a reasonable player, especially after Russia-Ukraine. We matter in the international stage, at least publicly. I mean, it's bullshit. Don't get me wrong, it's propaganda. But that's the messaging, and they want foreign investment back. And I think this is highly embarrassing. So I do believe that this leads credence that this was a standard intelligence operation. Somebody pushed the luck too much, caught the Chinese government by surprise. Because let's not forget, the reason why this balloon story popped up, it was an NBC article was the first to broke it, but it was a statement from the Pentagon, right? It was the DoD spokesperson said, hey, this is happening. We're monitoring it. We're tracking it. It wasn't like the Chinese said, ha ha ha, we beat your air defense. No, that's not how this happened. So I think what China has been trying to do in the last couple of weeks to months is pivot from zero COVID and trying to reestablish diplomatic relations, international relations, etc. This just doesn't make any sense, and it's kind of dumbfounding to me.
Well, All Source News you brought up, and Charlie, I see you too, buddy. I'm going to go to Lindsay here in just a second. You mentioned the word COVID. And now that, we're opening up investigations and there is a Republican majority in the House, I find very interesting timing. It could just be pure coincidence. But now that these investigations are heating up and people are starting to dig in, and China knows that they're kind of under the gun because, the whole Wuhan thing, I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. But Lindsay, would love to get your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? Got your hand up forever. You probably forgot what you were going to say. Lindsay on the horse, going once.
Maybe she dropped her AirPods in her wine.
You know what? It might have been tequila or vodka at this point. We'll circle back. Charlie, you got the floor. What you got?
Yeah. Hey. So this could very well be a distraction from everything like was mentioned earlier. But it's interesting that we immediately go to like direct what's the direct action that's meant by this, like distribution of aerosols or some sort of direct surveillance. Like the Soviet Union has been probing, back in the day, and now Russia, probing air defenses has always been a thing, and it's never been about how far they can go as much. Like I'm talking about bombers. Like bombers would fly from Russia over the U.S. airspace back in the day. They still kind of do this, different areas of the world, but they would probe the air defenses, but they would look for response times. They would be monitoring every single, movement across the board. I mean, they're monitoring from all their monitoring, capabilities. So to say that it's a direct thing would be a little bit too on the nose, maybe, to my mind. I think there's just a lot more going on behind the scenes. One of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and he wrote this book, Principles. It's got a great YouTube summary of it for those who don't like to read. But bottom line, everything goes in cycles, and he studied the last few 100 years of empires rising and falling and how that affects markets, because that's his business. And he talks about how there's always war that erupts here and there in the end state and late stage empires. Now, we sort of think about the U.S. as an empire in a controversial sense and whatnot, since World War I and II, when Pax Americana was established. But you also have this kind of weird dynamic where even though China is a developing nation, you have this kind of weird dynamic that there's another economist by the name of Harry S. Dent Jr., which you should look up, who's predicted a lot of logical trends, and he sort of overlays those things. And there's like a 40 to 42, maybe 43 year trend for how the impact of a generation. There's these generational waves, like the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, etc., how they affect markets and how that impacts the development of nations as well as economies. The problem is China, even though they're the up and coming economic power and military power, they've put themselves in a late stage empire status as far as population goes. And this puts them in a really precarious position, which makes them dangerous, right? So you have the U.S. Pax Americana sort of fraying at the edges. You have China potentially fraying at the edges. And it's kind of a bombshell situation. I'm rambling here. I'm sorry, but it's
Well,
Friday
what's
night,
the play
and I
for
had a
China
couple
here, Charlie, in your opinion?
The play for China, in my opinion, is stir up the chaos. In the fifth generational sense, you've got to continue pressing in. If I was China, I would absolutely be launching balloons. Why would I not? And if they were empty, that would be hilarious given the amount of chaos, given the amount of time we are spending right now instead of building businesses and shit on a Friday night or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is genius from a PsyOps standpoint, in my opinion, as well, to say nothing of SIGINT, like anything like that.
Yeah,
would be valuable.
You definitely bring up good points, and I think about, when you put the military on alert, everybody's got their eyes on here. What can slip through? Does Russia have something on a cyber front that they want to come through? There's just so many different things, and we're being attacked by not one enemy but many. And when you have many enemies and you hit it in different places, and there's this, I guess, crazy cold, and you've got, now power grid, and then you've got, food shortage, and you see all these things that are coming. They have ways to attack in ways that we're not even looking at. So yeah, this could be just an empty thing, or like a funny thing. Hey, it's empty, nothing, gotcha. And then we just did this over here. So Intel, I see you as well. I did want to get to Lindsay on the horse. We'll circle back, see if you are back. Lindsay?
And et cetera. I just want to be really clear, because I think that's sort of like a bad, I don't know, it's just very bad understanding of really how Chinese manufacturing works. So if you make something in China, and Boeing and every company on the planet, Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, everybody that does everything makes stuff in China, and whether those corporations decide how good or how bad that product is going to be. So case in point, China can make you a light switch that will last forever. They can make you a light switch that will last for a few days. You decide that as a company when you go there. I make stuff there. I decide how long I want it to last. That's being an American business. You can choose the quality that you want. The Chinese kind of idea that, everything made in China is crappy, that's because American companies want it to be crappy